Drama is nothing new to Atlanta's nightlife, but this was unexpected. Cameras captured what fans are already referring to as the most outrageous hip-hop and romance confrontation in years last night outside a crowded bar. A straightforward night. Out turned into mayhem when Bambi and Erica Dixon women forever refused to give up, united by tenacious fixed glances across the flashing lights. As the two ladies surrounded each other with that lethal intensity you can't fake, phones rang, lives began immediately, and the internet captured every moment. Raw words, shvees, and screams cut while witnesses pleaded with security to intervene via the base. However, rather of easing, the tension erupted into a full-fledged altercation on the street. As it seemed, things couldn't get much worse in the midst of the chaos. An SUV in black arrived at the curb. Everyone was in complete disbelief when the individual stepped out. In the metropolis of Atlanta, secrets are seldom kept for very long. And nothing ever dies quietly in the hip-hop and love worlds. Rumors that Bambi and Erica Dixon were headed for a collision had been going around for weeks. Fans had seen the shady remarks, the cryptic postings, and the subtle jabs, concealed inside arbitrary lives. Each video was analyzed on blogs. Each tweet became a headline. And each sidelong glance and smile proved that the two ladies weren't just no longer putting up with one another. They were getting ready for battle. No one anticipated the confrontation to blow out in front of hundreds of yelling onlookers while the cameras were filming. However, in Atlanta, drama seldom remains behind closed doors when it strikes. The evening began simply. Scrappy was also booked, host in a lounge, one of those gloomy places where people may enjoy bottle service, where the guest list is more exclusive than a fashion show and the DJ is louder than your thoughts. An easy payout, an opportunity to interact with fans, a few shout-outs, and a trip home before midnight were all part of the plan. However, once it was revealed that Bambi and Erica Dixon were also on the RSVP, people's mouths fell. Everyone was aware that messy was history. The long-standing ex, Erica, had established a reputation for being unflappable yet brutally honest when forced. The fiery wife, Bambi never one to hold her mouth. This former wife became sporadic ally. Add many receipts scattered among seasons, a kid in the midst, years of entanglements, and reality TV confessionals. By 10:45 p.m., you had two ladies who were destined to collide the instant the cosmos put them in the same orbit. There was a bustle in the lounge. Erica was the first to arrive, her velvet coat catching the light as she walked. The gathering was divided between adoration and expectation as she walked confidently and smiled in a manner that said, "I'm here, and I know you see me." After ordering a drink and taking a few photos, she shared a little narrative on social media with the remark, "Unbothered as always." Fans took notice right away. Erica's energy shouted against controlled calm, and blogs were tagged with captions, like, "She knows Bambi's coming." The sort that makes folks wonder whether she's going to make a viral headline out of it or laugh herself out of it. About 11:15 p.m., Bambi came in, a smooth slide without any hesitation or delay at the door, her team behind her, across the floor. People whispered that she seemed too calm for someone headed right into stress because of her shiny grin and honeyed sheen. Bambi was more than simply her evening attire. She was prepared for combat. Every look deliberate, every detail precise. She could manage a brief wave, a ring's shine, and a well-placed wink at a fan who had their phone out. She refused to let Erica control the story. Bambi was going to be the main character in whatever narrative that was going to be told tonight. The two ladies did not immediately recognize one another. As if she had nowhere else to be, Erica sipped carefully from her glass while laughing heartily at every joke. In the meanwhile, Bambi and her companions were leaning against a velvet booth as she scrolled through her phone in that aloof, "this doesn't even matter to me" pose that deceived no one. But the energy ran across the whole lounge. To get within earshot, other people pretended to order beverages as they moved closer to the activity. Even the DJ seemed to be uneasy by its witching tunes until he dropped a document. That was too much history. The first spark flew at that same time. Scrappy once dedicated the song to Erica. Years ago, the same one that Bambi was being dragged by fans in contentious internet disputes. A portion of the audience burst out laughing uncontrollably as soon as the rhythm stopped, and Erica couldn't help but smile. Bambi managed to catch it. There was a little but terrible change in her face. Under all that luster, there's a spark of frigid steel. Like a detonator, she touched her phone to deliver a brief message that everyone could sense, but no one could read. Notifications started to appear all around Atlanta a few seconds later. A gossip site revealing the purported demi between Erica and Scrappy. Screenshots that were damaging since they seemed authentic. They both had receipts tonight, the caption said. The room let out a gasp. Erica's phone flashed warnings and her eyes furrowed. She raised it, looked at the screen, and let out a loud, cutting laugh that wasn't intended to conceal pain, but rather to declare that this won't break me. The distance between them decreased, not literally, but in energy. As Bambi cocked her head and curled her lips into a smile that said, "Try me." The walls seemed to close in more tightly. As if the night itself were bending closer to hear what would happen next, the music became softer. Trying to play peacemaker, Scrappy was torn between two different universes. He went about greeting admirers and making fake grins while keeping one eye on Bambi and one on Erica. However, his shoulders were rigid and his jawline was heavy. He had previously been here. He was aware of the conclusion of these tales. Never, not cleanly, but softly. The knight had other ideas, however, so he took out his phone, spoke to a pal, and shook his head as if to say, "Not tonight." The scene changed to the sidewalk just after midnight. With her jacket swinging like a cloak and her quick stride, Erica was the first to go. Inundated with bloggers and paparazzi, they held up cameras and shouted queries like, "Shields, what about the DMs? You have anything to say to Bambi?" Erica chose to disregard them. Her lips met, her gaze fixed ahead. After a few seconds, Bambi showed up. The throng exploded, advancing with phones in the air. The possibility of Team Bambi and Team Erica fighting, like opposing gangs. Bambi came to a halt, her voice cutting through the cacophony. "Don't mention me in your stories." Erica whirled around with her chin up. Then quit playing the lead in them. It just required that. The air broke. The audience let forth a yell. All of a sudden, there was live and immediate anarchy as hands began to move and voices began to rise. Friends attempted to put themselves in the women's way. While some encourage it, others beg. A few seconds later, Scrappy hurried out, hands waving, voice struggling to soothe it. "You guys relax. Relax." However, no one was paying attention anymore. Flashing lights, tripping heels, and ultimately unbridled rage filled the pavement, creating a battle zone. And just as it seemed that security might at last soon, the scene was illuminated by headlights. A black SUV with tinted windows slipped down an inch as it rolled to the curb. The throng gasped and froze, scrambling to see who was inside. Like the beginning of a movie scene, the door opened slowly and deliberately. The whole street erupted, in shock as the stranger emerged because it was someone neither Erica nor Bambi had ever imagined seeing in person. The SUV, as if telling its own tale, the door snapped open. In the second, a shoe's heel made contact with the sidewalk. The audience let out a collective gasp. Mama D got dressed. She had come like a queen returning to her throne, decked up from head to toe in a jacket adorned with rhinestones that gleamed even in the dark street lighting of Atlanta. She had a magnetic presence that quickly sucked up all the tension and replaced it with a new type of turmoil. Her name was shouted by bloggers. In order to obtain the viewpoint, fans pushed forward. Even security seemed uncertain about whether to stop recording or take a respectful pause. Mama D's voice pierced, the commotion like a sermon. "Young ladies, this is the end of this stupidity." She didn't sound like a peacemaker, however. It was the authoritative tone of a person who wasn't just breaking up a brawl. She was going to make things worse in her own way. Scrappy stopped, caught between fear and shame. His mother was notorious for passing judgment and dragging skeletons out of closets. Tonight was no different, judging by the velvet purse she was holding. Bambi straightened her shoulders, her chest still pumping from the thrill. "Respectfully, Mama D, this is none of your concern." Urka immediately grinned and pounced on the gap. "It's her business, I see. She is constantly in charge. By now, don't you realize that?" Sensing that clash had just taken a new, nastier turn, the audience oohed. Like a magician teasing her magnificent trick, Mama D raised the velvet purse and shook it. "I warned all of you," she remarked in a stern but sweet voice. "Receipts are kept by the palace." The audience was signaled by just one word: receipts. Whispers ran through the throng, phones leaned higher, and Erica's grin wavered just a little. Bambi's brows widened as her fingers clenched around her phone, which was filled with scandalous messages and perhaps leaked video from backstage moments that no one was intended to witness. Bambi's tone was piercing. "On this street, you're not going to play with me." Erica retaliated right away. "If you let her play if she has nothing to conceal." The fire was fueled by the gasps and howls of the audience. Scrappy became quite irritated. He threw his baseball hat on the ground and ripped it off. "This is absurd. Are you all attempting to destroy me here?" In actuality, however, the night had shifted away from him. Was about the conflict between his past and present, which were separated by 10 feet. Neither of them is afraid to blink first. Mama D pointed toward the SUV. "We prepared the laptop. Do you want to know the truth? Let's be truthful." Leaning over the panel, her driver, a guy with a poker face who had obviously seen this behavior before, powered up the screen. Some climbed atop vehicles as the mob rushed ahead, while others almost broke through the thin, "they are being held," back by a line of guards. Drama was no longer the only thing. The whole street was the audience, and it was theater. Bambi refused, shaking her head. "To go. This is not my place. This circus is not necessary for me." Erica, however, chuckled and moved in closer to the SUV. People say so when they are aware that the receipts don't support their claims. An unseen current snapped between them as their eyes met, challenging each other to get closer. Even strangers held their breath without recognizing it because of the oppressive tension. A muffled sound suddenly filled the SUV speakers. A thumbnail of a blurry movie flashed on the dashboard screen once the laptop connected. Dozens of voices sounded as the throng exploded, yelling simultaneously. Mama D held out a finger and said, "Play it." "Who is it? Turn it up." "Enjoying the suspense," she taunted. "Patience. Good tea takes time." "It takes time." The footage started to play. Figures in a poorly lit parking garage were surrounded by shadows on the screen. The voices were unmistakable, despite the poor quality. The first was a woman. Calm, but it's crucial. "We can't keep bumping into her like this, I warned you." The audience instantly recognized the rhythm and drew closer. Erica's gaze expanded. Bambi's mouth dropped open in shock. Fa first distorted, then abruptly cleared, as if destiny intended it to be obvious. Scrappy's voice genuine and unvarnished. "She is not insignificant to me. Are you aware of that?" Chaos erupted on the sidewalk. Shouts, screams, supporters pointing, holding each other, and live recording the phrase on their phones. For the first time that evening, Erica's poise broke, and her hand sprang to her lips. Bambi's expression changed, anger piercing every strand of composure she had so meticulously cultivated. Shouting, "Cut it off! Cut it off!" Scrappy raced for the laptop, but it was too late. The footage was on the road already. Bloggers were taking screenshots. TikTokers were broadcasting live. Additionally, Twitter posts they formed more quickly than anybody could. "Stop them!" "Wow," Erica said in a tremulous but victorious murmur. "So that's your true feelings?" The audience, fueled by her rage, roared louder. With a voice that might frost the July air, Bambi moved forward, inches from Erica now. "Don't pretend you were unaware. Don't pretend that you weren't anticipating this." Erica gave a sharp, bitter chuckle. "I'm waiting, sweetie. While you've been living, I've been seeing a guy who was unable of speaking the truth when it was important." Like a gunshot, the sentence rang out through the darkness. Supporters let up a yell. Security shifted more tightly. Scrappy yelled, but the noise drowned away his words. Mama D, content with the mayhem she had wrought, stood tall with her arms folded and watched it all happen like a queen. Then, when it seemed that fists would soon be raised, a voice that no one had anticipated and that cut down even the wildest yells came into view. Clicking like bullets hitting the pavement, a vehicle door from the far end of the street slammed, and a lady in elegant black heels stepped out. The audience dispersed, bewildered, and furiously murmured, "Is that? No way!" She refused to acknowledge it, but it was. Kendra Young Jock's wife, already filming on her phone, walking directly into the combat zone. Her lips curled into a cunning, knowing smirk as her gaze shifted between Scrappy, Bambi, and Erica. She remarked, "Looks like I came just in time," in a tone that was full of malice and derision. "You guys are fighting over shreds when the actual tale hasn't even been released yet." The audience let out a scream that was so intense that it seemed like the street's air had been drawn out. Erica tensed. Bambi blinked incredulously. Tenacious palled. And for the first time throughout the evening, Mama D's contented smile wavered. Because whatever they had just seen was going to seem insignificant in light of anything Kendra had to say. The audience did more than merely gasp. They froze when Kendra approached. It was as if they were unable to comprehend that a new hip-hop queen and love had just joined the fray. Kendra wasn't meant to be present. No one invited her. No one scheduled her. And yet there she was, dressed as if she had been waiting for this moment all her life. Her elegant black ensemble glistened in the streetlights, her hair slicked back into a commanding style, and her phone already pointed toward the mayhem, recording every moment for her own story. She spoke slowly and deliberately, her words flowing like honey laced with poison. "Y'all look real cute out here," she added. "It's important to remember that neither of you really governs this city. You are only squabbling over a guy who has already lost his throne." Bloggers pressed closer, fans scribbled frantically in their notebooks, and thousands of people watched in real time as her eyes slid right to Scrappy, causing the audience to explode in a chorus of astonished shouts. "Kendra, please, ain't nobody asked for you." Erica sneered and folded her arms, but her voice broke just a little, showing nervousness. "Bambi's." Her mouth clenched as if she were challenging Kendra to continue. "Oh, you didn't ask." Kendra fired back, tilting her head. She smirked at the camera on her phone, but the streets definitely saw. "Mama D wants to drop receipts, so how about I bring out some of my own?" she said, pointing to the USB gripped in D's palm. Scrappy's face was pale. The audience drew closer, waiting, humming like electricity before a storm. But Kendra ignored him and continued to scroll through her computer until she found what she was looking for. "Y'all worried about Scrappy's lies?" she said sharply, and proudly as she finally turned the phone toward them. However, what would I say about the disaster between these two? She gestured between Erica and Bambi isn't just about him. Erica's grin wavered as the street echoed. "A collective, huh?" Blinked quickly and shook her head as if she was having trouble believing what she was hearing. "Are you telling the truth?" "Oh, I'm lying," Bambi yelled, her voice shaking with rage. Kendra touched her device, zooming in on what seemed to be screenshots of messages with dates stamped on them, and her smile grew wider as her teeth flashed under the flashing lights of the admirers' cameras. Conversations between two women, not a guy. The audience erupted. "Then, explain to me why you two were messaging one other behind his back and why you had been manipulating him and us for months." The night was filled with screams and many shouted, "What? Not far distant. Repeat it." The phones slanted upward. Erica took a step back, her arms crossing more tightly across her chest. Yet her body betrayed her, even if her expression hardened. Bambi's eyes briefly flickered, but her lips twitched. In amazement, our ward, Erica, enough to raise suspicions among the audience. Mama D's cry was so dramatic that it sounded like a play. "Not my palace, ladies!" she cried, holding her bosom as if her own lineage had betrayed her. Scrappy seemed to want the earth to split up and engulf him. It was all falling apart in front of the whole city. "That's right," Kendra said, her voice rising over the din. "You guys have been behaving like enemies the whole time. But in reality, you've been linked in ways that Scrappy was unaware of. Isn't there a guy at the core of this? Have you all been playing a whole other game?"